Hello everyone, thanks for joining us today. SIUK India is live with University of Brighton. Over to you, Brian.
Great, thank you so much. And good afternoon to you all in India. And thank you so much for joining today's presentation with SI UK. And my name is Mr. Brian McNamara, and I am the International Recruitment Manager for Asia. I'm also joined today by my team colleague, Anushri Patil, who's joining us from Mumbai. So thank you all so much for joining today. And so we're going to talk generally about the University of Brighton. But more specifically, we're going to look at areas such as, particularly hot topics such as the COVID-19 situation in the UK. We'll talk generally then about, yes, the University of Brighton, our areas of excellence, employability, our location, and talk about applying and tuition fees and scholarships as well. We're going to have the questions at the end, so certainly looking forward to receiving your questions with regard to Brighton and our programs. Just a quick update with regard to the COVID-19 situation in the UK. I know it's a particularly very, very hot topic for everybody. It's been a very serious situation. I know currently in India, it's a big there's some big issues happening there. In the UK, we're seeing certainly a very positive trend currently. As you know, 2020 was a very difficult year for us here in the UK. But right now here, we're seeing essentially 70% of our population have had a vaccination in the UK. And that's had a really positive impact in terms of the number of cases in the UK of COVID-19. So I think yesterday there was 2,000 people in the UK who had tested positive for COVID-19, and that's out of a population of 65 million. So we're seeing a return to some form of normality here in the UK, the new normal, as they talk about. The good news is we're seeing things like shops have reopened, cafes and restaurants. You can have a meal outside and coffee outside of the cafes. The government target is by June 21st. We're aiming for the end of all lockdowns will be by June 21st. So that's the government target. And so at the moment, things are looking very positive and here in the UK. And we're confident, but for September, that there will be face-to-face tuition. Currently, there is face-to-face tuition for students doing the practical programs. Also, we're seeing a return to face-to-face tuition for all other programs by the middle of May. So for students looking to join us in September, certainly the situation is looking positive. As you might have seen then recently, India was added to the UK red list. And this essentially means that people coming from India were unable to enter the UK. The interesting development this week that I spotted in the independent newspaper here in the UK is that there's been an announcement from the Department of Education that Indian students will be exempt from this. So it will be possible for Indian students to still travel. So for regular travel, it might not be possible, but for students, there seems to be an exemption plan. Again, I'm just awaiting clarity on this, and it's something that I thought I'd mention because I just spotted it as an announcement this week. But again, we're just waiting on full clarity on this, and it has not been finalized or confirmed. So I would advise you to certainly do more research on that and have a talk with colleagues at SI UK in the coming weeks, and they'll be able to provide you with some more clarity with regard to this. So in a situation whereby there is an exemption, Indian students will be able to travel to the UK, but they will have to quarantine, and the quarantine currently involves individuals arriving at UK airports need to stay in a hotel for 10 days at a government-approved hotel. Again, the situation, as we know, is evolving very quickly. Now that we're currently at the end of April, we are, over 4 months away from September. So the situation is likely to change in that time. And I know that the situation will hopefully improve in India by that stage as well. Moving on to deposit refunds and reduced deposits. For students joining us for September 2021, of course, we're providing them with reassurance, saying to students, if you pay your tuition fees And then if you decide to change your mind in September, we will give you a full refund of your tuition fees. So, for example, if you accept an offer to study at Brighton in June, if you decide to pay all of your tuition fees in July, or your deposit, for example, we're saying to students that if you change your mind before your course starts in September, we will give you a full refund of your tuition fees without any questions. Again, just allowing for flexibility, and also just making sure that students are happy with their decisions, because of the situation being one where it's evolving all the time. It's important to provide as much flexibility to our students. With regard to late arrivals, again, for students from India, all going well, that students are exempt from the red list. Students will be able to arrive in the UK and have to quarantine. We are likely to see in that situation, a huge surge in demand for air flights from India to the UK. So you're likely to see a situation whereby there will be students arriving late. So if students arrive late, we're saying to them that you can arrive for up to 1 month late, and you can still join your program. So again, the key thing is that we're trying to provide as much flexibility for students who are joining us here in Brighton. We also have announced scholarships for this year. We have a deadline for students who have already got an offer. There's a deadline tomorrow. But for students who have not applied already, no need to worry, because we have one more round of scholarships taking place at the end of May, I believe. So there's still a chance to be considered for a scholarship. But the key thing would be to start your application ASAP. We'll also be providing pre-arrival support for students. So throughout June, July, August, we'll be providing lots of different webinars through the Brighton website, but also through our team member Anushri, who's based in Mumbai. For students joining us, she'll be providing you with one-to-one mentoring and consultation with regard to your travel plans and any questions that you have. It's been a very challenging year for everybody globally. And I know certainly in India, you're facing big challenges there as well. But I think there's certainly a lot of positives as well, because I know in India, there's a lot of vaccination production happening. So that's some really good news. And hopefully we'll see that impacting by the autumn. So moving on to talk more about the University of Brighton. You might be curious to wonder why I've included this photo. This is a photograph of the Brighton Pavilion, which is the iconic building in the heart of Brighton. And interestingly, for those of you interested in history, this was built by King George IV at the start of the 19th century. And King George IV had a big interest in South Asian culture. As you can see, the style of architecture is loosely based on Mughal architecture. And so why I've included this image today in the presentation is that the University of Brighton can trace its origins to this building. So we started our classes in this building in the 1860s. And over the last 160 or so years, Brighton University has emerged as a center of excellence in a number of key areas, notably in fashion, art and design, medicine, education, physiotherapy, sports science, health sciences, pharmacy, and pharmacology. I'm just going to add as well that for students joining us in September 2021, they will be able to benefit from our new campus development. If you're joining us in the Molesey campus, we have invested £300 million in the Molesey campus development. And this is the home of our engineering science programs, the School of Business. So we're going to see new academic buildings here, which are launching in the autumn, new sports and fitness facilities, and new students' union. I'll tell you a bit more about our campuses later in the presentation, but just thought I'd highlight that at the start. So our community here at Brighton, we have 21,000 students. So we're one of the larger universities in the UK on the South Coast. Interestingly, in March 2020, Brighton scored in the top 30 globally on student mix. So this is the QS ranking assessment of how welcoming and how well equipped a location Brighton is for international students. And this is interesting because, Brighton to feature in the top 30 cities in the world is quite an achievement, particularly because, Brighton is a small city. Brighton has a population of just 200,000 people. So for a small city, for it to be able to feature alongside New York and London, Toronto, it says something very special about this place. And I always like to think that, Brighton has all of the benefits of a big city, but without the inconveniences. And we'll tell you a little bit more about Brighton and student life later in the presentation. So in terms of the location, for those of you not familiar with the southeast of England, Brighton is located 50 minutes from the City of London by train. We're 25 minutes, 30 minutes, from Gatwick by train, and about 1 hour, 20 minutes from the Heathrow Airport as well. So it's a very enviable location on the south coast of England. We're a beach seaside city, and interestingly, the southeast of England receives the most sunshine compared with the rest of the UK. So it would be regarded as the warmer part of the UK, which is probably still a little bit chilly compared to where you guys are today in India. So just a little bit more about our campuses. We have our city campus in Brighton, which is located near to the sea. That's the home of our design and fashion programs, film programs. As I mentioned, we are 6th in the UK for fashion, 8th in the UK for art and design. Our Molesey campus, this is where we're investing £300 million in our campus development. This is the home of architecture, computer science, pharmacy, media, engineering, environmental sciences, and of course, the business school as well, which we'll be talking a bit more about, and particularly the postgraduate programs with placements today. We have a campus at Falmer, which is also located in the city of Brighton. And this is the home of education, humanities, applied social science, and the Brighton and Sussex Medical School. And finally, we have a campus in Eastbourne, which is 30 minutes from Brighton. And this is the home of our sports management, journalism, physiotherapy, and podiatry programs. And we've seen certainly a lot of demand for our physiotherapy programs for students coming from South Asia. Just moving on more to talk generally about what makes Brighton different from other universities, more traditional universities. And I think that one of the key differences is our focus on employability. And this is reflected in a number of different ways, but certainly through our partnerships that we have with the relevant industry bodies in the UK. So, for students joining our undergraduate degree programs and a good number of our postgraduate degree programs, not only will they emerge as master's degree holders or bachelor degree holders, but they'd also emerge as members of their relevant industry associations, which of course have global reach. So in the example of a student studying accountancy, you would also then emerge as a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants. And, again, it's very beneficial to be a member of these institutes. Sometimes for certain professions, it's very important to be a member of these institutes because it's an entry requirement for employability to get employment within that industry. And a good example of that would be the College of Podiatry or the Royal College of Occupational Therapists. And also these institutes have a lot of benefits for our students because they provide good opportunities for networking, for job opportunities, and for career and professional development. So pretty much all students at Brighton have the opportunity to do work-related learning. I think that's a really big difference between Brighton and a lot of other universities. We provide work placements, volunteering, live project briefs. Our career service is certainly a leading service. We provide a lot of one-to-one mentoring. So from your point of arriving at Brighton, you can meet with the career service to discuss your career ambition, what types of placements you might be interested in. Alumni, again, we have a huge network of alumni globally. And again, we organize regularly alumni networking events for our students. At our most recent survey of our graduate employment rate, 92% of our students were in employment within 6 months of graduation. And also just to talk more focusedly on the business school with the postgraduate placement opportunities. And again, focus of our conversation today to look at the business school and the postgrad opportunities that we offer with regard to placements. So a number of our programs within the business school are open to placement opportunities. And again, you can see a broad mix of programs, including marketing, management, finance, tourism, logistics and supply chain management, and user experience design as well. Interesting to note that user experience design is one of these big hot serious demand at the moment by employers. And we're seeing certainly a lot of interest from South Asian students in user experience design currently. So why do people choose to study the Masters with placement? So the Brighton Business School is rated top 5 in the UK for its research in the area of management, which is one of the key sort of reasons why students are attracted to the Brighton Business School. It's a well-regarded business school in the area of research. Students can graduate with real business experience. So for students doing the 2-year Masters with placement, they do 1 year of study on campus and then 1 year of work placement. And then they graduate after 2 years. And again, a lot of our students have the opportunity to stay on with that employer. So we've seen situations where students have actually finished their placement and then been offered a full-time job as well. So it gives students the opportunity to complete a business project as part of their master's qualification, showing your ability to put what you've learned into practice. And I think it's important to remember that work placements are paid placements as well. So this is not a volunteering opportunity. This would be a paid placement. It gives students the opportunity to establish a professional network before they graduate. So many students go on, as I said, to take up full-time roles in the companies that they have been placed in. I think also it's an interesting opportunity for students, given the new PSW situation in the UK. So for this 2 years Masters, students could study on this program and then they could do 2 years of PSW. So it's essentially a 4-year package where they could get, their master's qualification and then potentially 3 years of work experience in the UK. So, certainly just a very interesting proposition for students that are keen on getting work experience. So how does it work? Within Brighton, as I mentioned, we have a leading careers office and we have a dedicated placements and employability team who support you in finding a placement, provide you with one-to-one mentoring. So really just sitting down with you, looking at your CV, working with you in terms of developing your interview skills, really sort of honing in on, what's your area of interest for the future? Where would you like to be in 3 years, 5 years? And so our careers office then work closely with you on developing your CV, developing your confidence, preparing you for interviews as well. And they have then a great list of different placement opportunities for our students. And again, they work with you on applying for these opportunities. Overall, these placements allow you to start building your career network. They can offer you the chance to try different areas of work, which you could go on to upon graduation. And as I said earlier, our placements offer paid work experience, and there's often the chance to return to the companies full-time after finishing your degree, giving you great employment prospects. Some of our recent placements have included companies such as Adobe, IBM, Bosch, Johnson & Johnson, Nike, and Disney as well. And I think the most important thing to remember is that, that of course, there's no guarantee of a placement without your initiative. So students, of course, need to meet us halfway. And our careers office, they'll help you. They'll prepare your CV, help you prepare your CV. They'll mentor you with regard to preparing for interview. And they'll meet you halfway. So it's so important for you to also to put the work in and to really to do your best at interview in order to secure your placement. And again, that's a really important point. But again, as part of your 1-year master's program on campus, as part of your first year, you will be preparing for this 2nd-year placement. And our careers team will be working closely with you to ensure you're ready and to ensure that you get the placement that you want. So now just moving on to talk more generally about applying to Brighton. So if you're applying to Brighton, you'll be applying through SI UK. And I'll just talk briefly about the entry requirements. And again, for students applying to us, I'd certainly recommend you set up a one-to-one meeting with SI UK after this presentation. And they'll talk you through in more detail, things like student accommodation and the application procedure and what's required. But yeah, for students applying for our postgraduate programs, they would need to have a bachelor's degree with a minimum of 3 years, bachelor degree. And again, the minimum entry requirement is 55%. But again, for a lot of our programs, we're seeing our admissions accepting students at a higher grade. So you just say the minimum, but of course, students with higher grades would be more preferable. And we are seeing, particularly in physiotherapy, for example, students requiring higher grades for entry. So for the MBA program, you need a minimum of 3 years work experience. For programs in pharmacy and physiotherapy, podiatry, you need to have an interview as part of your application as well. And then for design and art programs, you need to have portfolio. And then for musculoskeletal physiotherapy, 1 year's work experience. And for advanced physiotherapy, 2 years work experience. But certainly for students that are focused on the master's programs with work placement in our business school, having 3 years of a bachelor degree, minimum 55%, that would be minimum level of entry. With regard to tuition fees, for our postgraduate programs, you're typically looking at a fee of £15,000 per year, £15,300. And for the international placement year, the fee is £2,100. As I mentioned earlier, we also offer international scholarships for students, and they're worth up to £2,500. We have a deadline tomorrow, so for any offer holders who currently have an offer, they would need to ensure they have their scholarship application submitted. And the key thing to remember is that it's to get a scholarship, you just need to demonstrate your career ambition, in terms of what you want to achieve. So essentially, it's an advanced personal statement. And we would say to students, it's important to spend some time on this, because I know you're probably considering maybe a few different universities, but particularly for our scholarships for Indian students, 60-70% of our Indian students have received scholarships last year. So I would certainly just say to you, make sure to spend time, on this, and not be too distracted by applying to lots of different universities. So it's important to spend as much time on each individual university application as possible, and to, I suppose, be clear on your priority focus for where you want to study. And of course, the more time you spend, there's a more chance that you will benefit from a higher level of scholarship. English language requirements. So again, typically students would need to have 6.5 equivalent in IELTS, TOEFL IBT of 85 overall as well. We also accept Pearson's. We also accept, for students who've completed their bachelor degree through English, we can accept that for entry on that study as well. So for students that wish to improve their English language level, so if, for example, your IELTS is maybe 5.5, it's possible to join us in the summer and to have an extended CAS, and it's possible to join our English Language Centre. So you can join us in July or August, and it's a good opportunity for students who wish to improve their English language level before starting their masters. And we still haven't mentioned student life. Of course, Brighton is a top 10 UK student city according to QS. So it's regarded as one of the best student cities in the UK. It's a very favourable location. It's got one of the best beaches in the world, according to the Lonely Planet Guidebook. Brighton Beach is up there alongside Rio and Cape Town. Traditionally, Brighton, was a tourism destination. It started in the middle of the 19th century as a tourist destination for people from London. And in fact, it was one of the first ever tourist destinations in the world, because obviously up until the middle of the 19th century, people did not go on vacation. It was a Victorian thing whereby people in the 1850s, 1860s, the whole idea of going on vacation became a popular thing. And obviously with the growing middle classes in the UK at that time, people could afford to go on vacation. So Brighton started off as a tourism destination. But now it's, tourism is certainly still an important thing in the city, but also it's a large hub in the UK and also in Europe for the creative industries. So Brighton is a big hub for things like computer games design, for graphic design, web design, digital marketing, user experience design. Interestingly, as I mentioned earlier, it's also the European headquarters for American Express. so quite big for financial services as well. It's a very friendly, open city. As I said earlier, it's compared to a lot of cities in India, it's very small. We have a population of 200,000 people, but I think it has all of the benefits of a big city. It's got a very cosmopolitan atmosphere. We have different festivals every year. The photograph here is from the Brighton Festival, which is the largest arts festival in England every year. So we've lots of things happening like theatre, Shakespeare in the park, music and comedy festivals. So it's a very vibrant place. It's got, as I said, a lot of the benefits of London without the traffic and the expense of London. We also were located just south of the South Downs National Park. The South Downs National Park is a beautiful region just north of the city. Again, we've been very lucky having the national park, particularly during the COVID-19 lockdowns. It's been really, really great to have the space for walking and for fresh air. So halls of residence, of course, students joining us from India will be guaranteed on-campus accommodation. As I mentioned earlier, we have 3 campus locations in the city of Brighton. We have Grand Parade Campus, Molesey Campus. This is where we are investing £300 million. We have Falmer Campus here as well. For those of you interested in English football, we have the American Express Community Stadium is located beside the Falmer Campus, and this is the home of the Brighton and Hove Albion football stadium. So yeah, in terms of the campus accommodation locations, we have campus accommodation located beside all of the campus locations. Brighton is very well connected by train as well, so it's possible to connect easily between Molesey Campus and Falmer Campus. A lot of our students take the bus around the city, and also they would cycle and walk. So it's a very easy city to get around. I won't spend too much time on the weekly costs, and just to give you an idea of the types of costs that you will need to consider when coming to the UK. You'll generally find, Brighton is quite similar to a lot of the UK cities, and that London is usually about 20% more expensive than Brighton. So that's today's presentation, and thank you all for joining us. In terms of the summary for today, I talked briefly about the COVID-19 situation. As I mentioned, the situation is looking very positive here in the UK. 70% of our population have had a vaccination, and the UK government has announced that by June 21st, all lockdowns will be ended. So currently, as I said, all retail is open, and restaurants and cafes are open for outdoor service. It is business as usual for a lot of industries here in the UK at the moment. But as I said, the government is aiming for June 21st for the end of all of the lockdowns. The current situation with regard to the red list, as I said, the announcement I saw this week was a quote from a Department of Education spokesperson in the UK, which said that Indian students would be exempt from the red list. Of course, we're waiting further clarity on this, and so I'd certainly recommend you keep in touch with SI UK to find out the latest news with regard to the red list, because again, this is going to be one of the big hot topics in the coming weeks. Again, we're hoping that the situation is going to improve quickly in India. And I think you should certainly be very confident of the situation, given that there's so many companies in India producing vaccines. So that's got to be a very positive thing in terms of the outlook for India. I know that's been a very difficult couple of weeks currently. So we wish you all very well in the coming weeks and hope that the situation improves quickly. We talked then about the areas of excellence at Brighton. Of course, we are leading the way in a number of key areas, particularly in the business school. We feature in the top 5 with regard to our research and management. We talked briefly about the employability areas, and particularly our work placements, the opportunities that we have for paid work placements within our business school as well. Our location, Brighton, of course, being 50 minutes from London and being located on the seaside, is a very favourable location. And it being a smaller city it's a very favourable thing post-COVID as well. We don't have big congestion, we don't have big sort of busy busy traffic or busy tubes and things like that. So it's quite a favorable location, given that we have a national park to the north of the city and we have the seaside on the south of the city. Applying, of course, you can apply directly through SI UK, and I'd certainly recommend you set up a one-to-one with SI UK after this session, and where they can talk to you about applying to Brighton. They can tell you more about our scholarship opportunities and deadlines. We have a deadline at the end of May. So thank you all so much for joining, and I certainly welcome the questions that you have, and I wish you a very good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, for the knowledgeable presentation. We'll go to the Q&A session now. We have received quite few questions. So the first question is, what is the deadline for the September 2021 applications?
Yeah, sure. We typically would accept applications pretty much up to the end of August for postgraduate applicants. For certain programs, it can be very, very competitive. We're seeing, particularly programs like the physiotherapy programs and our master's programs in business, for example. We're seeing a lot of demand for those. Also design, user experience design. So we do see a lot of demand for these types of programs. So if you're keen on studying with us for this September, I would suggest apply early, because we will see in the coming weeks certain programs will be closing because they will be oversubscribed. Yeah, recommendation would be, if you're keen on studying with us this September, start your application with SI UK ASAP.
Okay, so the next question is, does this university have biomedical courses in masters?
Yeah, I'll just verify our biomedical programs and just tell you a little bit more about that. We do have an MSc program in biomedical sciences here at the university.
Okay, cool. So the next question is there housing available for the students through the city, through the university?
Yes, we guarantee student accommodation for students joining us from India. And again, the suggestion would be for students that are keen on joining us for this September to apply early. And certainly to be guaranteed accommodation, I'd certainly advise people to apply before the end of July.
Okay, so we have one more question from the same person. Do biomedical courses have placement after finishing masters?
It's a very good question. The biomedical program, just bringing up the details here. So students have a blend of on-campus and learning, and also they do a lot of interaction with industry as well as part of their program. But for the MSCI program, it's a 2-year program, and it does include a 3-year program, including placement year. So the optional placement year is a great opportunity to develop skills as a biomedical science. And it's an optional placement year, and it's accredited by the NHS training lab as well. So it's a lot of our students who would go on from this program to work in NHS, but also in industry as well. And so, yeah, again, yes, in fact, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, it's a 5-year program in total. So that's including placement. It would be a 5-year program in total. It is possible for students who have completed biomedical science bachelor degree in India, it would be possible for them to be considered for entry onto year 3. So again, that would be a non-standard applications, but it is possible.
Okay, so we have one more question related to the courses. Do MSc Agriculture courses available at the university?
I'll just verify that. I don't believe we do offer that. Anishri, do we offer that program?
No, we don't have any programs available for agriculture at Brighton.
No, sorry about that.
Okay. So the next question is, any scholarship available for the data analytics MSc?
Yeah, there is scholarships available for all postgrad programs. And we will have a deadline tomorrow, but also we have a deadline at the end of May. So for students interested in applying for scholarships, I'd suggest you submit your application, get your offer, and then sit down with SI UK, and they can assist you and advise you with regard to your scholarship application, which you need to make separately. It's important to spend time in the scholarship application because it's worth up to £2,500. So if you could spend a couple of hours on it, I'd certainly recommend that.
Okay, great. So the next question is how we can manage being an Indian student as India is red listed by the UK government.
Sorry, can you repeat that question, please?
Yeah, sure. How we can manage being an Indian student as India is red listed by the UK government?
Sure. So as I mentioned in the presentation, the update that I saw this week, there was an update in the independent newspaper here in the UK, which quoted a Department of Education spokesperson who said that students from India would be exempt from the red list. And we're just waiting more clarity on this. And again, as we all know, it's a very fast-moving situation currently. And so, yeah, what I would suggest students to do would be to check in with SI UK in the next week or two, and they're likely to have more clarity on this situation. But as I said, as of this week, there was an announcement from the Department of Education in the UK saying that Indian students would be exempt from the red list, so Indian students would be allowed to travel. And what we're currently trying to do here at Brighton is to get full clarity on this. But certainly it's looking positive. But as I said earlier, you know, the situation is changing week by week. So I'd recommend you keep in contact with your local SI UK representative.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is, what is the required CGPA to do masters?
The required, can you repeat
CGPA.
that one, please? PGP. Can you answer that one initially for me, if that's okay?
Sure. So you would need a minimum percentage of 55 in your undergraduation to apply to the University of Brighton. You can convert your CGPA into percentage and see what the percentage is.
Okay, cool. So we have done with the Q&A session. I've covered all the questions that we have received from the students. And thank you so much, Deepika. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Brain and Anushi, for joining us today. Anything else you want to put forward in the end of this seminar?
So that's it from me on my side. Anushri, any feedback?
Students, I know that you are currently uncertain about the situation in India and therefore are probably worried about, whether you should go to the UK or not. Just bear in mind that the situation in UK is much better than what is happening in India right now. They have at least over 60% of the population vaccinated. Just like how things got worse for India in the past couple of months, we still have almost 4 months before you need to start going to the UK. So please bear in mind that don't make any hasty decisions. Take your time. The deadline to pay your deposit is the 30th of August. So I would say that the last day for you to accept your offers and let us know whether you want to defer your application to the next academic year would be somewhere at least the first week of August. So give it time, try to understand what the situation in both the countries is, and then make an informed decision. Should you have any queries, obviously, please feel free to get in touch with myself or Brian through one of your counselors at SI UK. And all the best for your future.
Thank you so much both for your time today. And to all the students, thank you for joining us today. Please feel free to contact SI UK, your nearby SI UK offices, or you can contact directly to Brian or Anushri. Thank you so much for your time today.